What's going on, Dolphins fans? It's Connor from the Dolphins Dive, and today we're talking about everyone's favorite subject, the offensive line. So before I hop into the breakdown of the offensive line, I'm just going to plug the merch shop, thedolphinsdive.com. We just released this new Tua shirt. It's pretty sweet in my opinion. It came out very good. Check it out if you're interested, but I'm going to hop right into today's video. So obviously, the offensive line has been a sore subject for the Dolphins for years on end. It's always been a struggle. We've never had a good offensive line. It's probably been, you can argue, since 2016, the last time we made the playoffs prior to this past season, with Brandon Albert, Laramie Tunsil, Mike Pouncey. I don't know who right guard was, but then Juwan James. That's probably the last time we had a good offensive line. But I think this past year can compete in terms of Armstead and the rest of the crew. I don't want to get too much into it, but this current unit, as currently slated without any potential free agent signings, which is going to be tomorrow's video, is left tackle Teron Armstead, left guard Liam Eichenberg, center Connor Williams, right guard Robert Hunt, right tackle Austin Jackson. So, as is, I'm very confident in 3 of the 5 guys there, which is solid, right? But you want to get to 5 of 5. So, obviously, Teron Armstead at left tackle is an all-pro left tackle. He's one of the best left tackles in all football. His main concern is injuries. I think at this point in his career, you have to account that he's probably going to miss at least 4 games in a season. The guy is tough as nails, but the injuries just don't go away for some people. Like the kind of injuries he's built up, he's always going to be dealing with it. It's just that he toughs it out, but there's just going to be some games that he misses. You just hope that he's going to be ready for playoffs if we make it that far, obviously. Left guard Liam Eichenberg is a little worrisome. The coaching staffs really seem to be happy with where he was prior to the injury in the Lions game, and then they were like, damn. So they were happy with his progression, but his play on the field was far from great. So you hope year 2 in the system will benefit him. Every single young guy on this offensive line hasn't had continuity on the offensive side of the ball, whether it be their O-line coach, the O-line scheme, or head coach. So these guys having year 2 in the same system is going to benefit them. So you do have to account for progression. They're young guys, obviously. They're entering their 3rd and 4th years into the league. So you do need to account for that, but you don't. When you have a Super Bowl caliber team, you do not want to rely on simply progression. You want to have at least competition there, which I will get into. At center, Connor Williams, he was phenomenal last season. Obviously, he had some snapping concerns, but as a pure blocker, he was tremendous. He was really a phenomenal free agent signing, and hopefully we can potentially extend him. He was very good. Right guard, Robert Hunt. The dude is a stud. I've been a big fan of potentially moving him to right tackle because tackles are harder to find than guards, in my opinion, and he's shown the ability to play very good at right tackle, but Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel do not want to move him. They're very confident in the high caliber player he is at guard, so they want to leave him there, which I understand. And then right tackle is Austin Jackson, which, similar to Liam Eichenberg, he had a struggling first couple of years in the league. The coaching staff really seemed to be excited about him and the progression he made throughout last camp, but then he dealt with the ankle injury in the New England game, which then had him out, and then I forget which game he came back, but then he suffered the same exact injury, but to the opposite side. So the coaching staff was very bummed about that, but they seemed confident in the kind of player he was for the scheme. So I think the lack of aggression there does show their confidence in the players. I know us as fans do not have confidence for obvious reasons. They've been absolute trash cans while they've been starting for us, but we don't necessarily see what happens in practice. We don't have a fair shake of what Austin Jackson looked like in this new scheme. He played like a game and a half. So obviously, once again, similar to Liam Eichenberg, you do not want to rely on these guys when you're making a Super Bowl run. So what it comes down to, like I said, I think 3/5 of the line is set in stone. We have top-end starters there, in my opinion, in Robert Hunt, Connor Williams, and Teron Armstead. For left guard and right tackle, what I want to see is just competition. If the starters end up being Liam Eichenberg and Austin Jackson, fine. But I want them to have a training camp battle and beat out the other guys. I want them to be pushed and to prove that they are those guys. And in that competition, you create depth, because right now the Dolphins have meh depth. And obviously you can't have great depth on the offensive line. I mean, there are very few great offensive lines in the league, so I mean, people are scratching and clawing to get the best offensive line possible, but like I said, I think depth needs to be added, competition needs to be had, and the winners of those competitions at those positions will lead to the best possible offensive line. So I think that's the current state. You also need to, like I said, account for the fact that Teron Armstead is probably going to miss games. So currently, the backup tackles to Austin Jackson and Teron Armstead are Kendall Lamb, Ryan Hayes, who's just drafted in the 7th round, Keon Smith, Jerron Christian. So Kendall Lamb played some snaps for the Dolphins last season. I don't think he did that good of a job. I'm not going to act like I watched tape on him, but I highly doubt it was very good, especially looking at the numbers. I remember it being slightly troublesome. Ryan Hayes, coming out of Michigan, very good in college, but he's mainly known for his run blocking, which in this game is very important. So this could potentially, maybe he beats out Austin Jackson for starting right tackle. I don't know. But in my opinion, if we can get Ryan Hayes to be a competent like backup swing tackle, that'd be ideal scenario, so that you have the depth in case one of the tackles go down, because offensive line, you see it year in, year out. There's going to be injuries. It's such a physical, brutal position that you're going to, I mean, last year, Teron Armstead missed some games, Liam Eichenberg missed games, Austin Jackson missed games. So it's going to happen. So having good depth is going to help. So in my opinion, the Dolphins need to sign a tackle, a competent like tackle that can legitimately push Austin Jackson for the starting right tackle job. I'm going to break that down in tomorrow's video, but names that come up are Cam Fleming, George Fant are the top guys in my head. And obviously they're not the best well, Cam Fleming seems to be high on everyone's list, but George Fant, I know people trashed on when I was pushing for him in free agency, but he's not a great plus starter. But when you're talking about competition, he started in this league. He's had good seasons. He's also had injury bugs as well, but once again, you just need someone to push Austin Jackson. And if Austin Jackson proves that he's the guy, awesome. And obviously, it might leave some fans weary, but if he's being pushed by a competent dude and he's just not like winning the position on day one of the camp, and he's being pushed and growing, and it's clear to the coaching staff that he's the guy there, then you can be more comfortable than right now, where you're like, he doesn't have any competition. He hasn't really proven much. If he can prove himself through that camp battle. And I think same thing goes from Liam Eichenberg. Now, he does have some solid competition in Robert Jones. He played a lot last season, Robert Jones, and he held up pretty well for himself. Now, was it great? No, but as a backup left guard, he did a great job. So I think that's a solid battle as is, but if you can add another piece, or, I mean, we signed Dan Feeney, a center, in free agency. If he's another guy that is in that competition, I'm comfortable with the winner of that competition between Eichenberg, Robert Jones, Dan Feeney. Obviously, there's going to be some undrafted free agents involved, and maybe another late veteran added, because the Dolphins are going to get a cap space boost with the Byron Jones contract coming off the books post June 1st. So like I said, the biggest thing here is adding competition at left guard and right tackle, which honestly I think just means adding a tackle, because even if you just add a tackle, it gives more leeway for some other tackles to maybe move inside. Dan Feeney, I think, is also an option at left guard. Obviously, they're not great options, but if you have the competition, it leads to a winner and having depth. So, like I said, this current offensive line we see here today could be the starting offensive line week 1. But if they can prove themselves through battling and competition in training camp, I'd be confident with that. But I think a tackle is a must-add, a veteran tackle in free agency. So, like I said, Cam Fleming, George Fant are some names to be out there. There's going to be a video out tomorrow that's obviously beyond offensive line play, but I know this is concerning for some Dolphins fans, and it is to me as well, especially when you're talking about this just a Super Bowl caliber team. The Dolphins are ready to win it all now, and our window isn't the biggest because of obviously the huge contracts that we've taken on. So we have this window for another probably 3 years. We need to maximize that, and that includes having the best possible players at every single position, and in the playoffs, most importantly, offensive line play is huge, especially tackles, because every single team has 2 good pass rushers. So you can survive having Teron Armstead, but having a weak right tackle. Now, with that said, having Teron Armstead does allow you to give help to the other side, but you don't want to have lousy tackle play. So I'm hoping with the progression of Austin Jackson in this scheme as well as some competition, will have the best offensive line play possible. And in my opinion, this is going to be the best offensive line the Dolphins have had since 2016, if not better, because, like I said, the Dolphins haven't had these kind of players in Teron Armstead. My computer went out. Connor Williams and Robert Hunt. Those are some 3+ starters. Those are good players. So, like I said, I think the competition is going to benefit the guys, and hopefully the Dolphins have a great offensive line. Comment your thoughts down below. Check out the Dolphins Dive for dope Dolphins merch. And until next time, I'll catch y'all.